Hi there YouTube, MissCoveredInPaint here with another episode of Critique Me Not. Today we're going to be drawing, well, I don't know, this girl, I drew her 12 years ago and I still have no idea what she is supposed to be. I think maybe it's Zelda, but I can't really tell. So we're going to make this redo of Mary Sue. When I say Mary Sue, I mean generic, typical, no character development character with giant flashlight eyes apparently. No, seriously, look at those eyes. They could be like beaming light rays from them. Like she's some sort of holy creature. Hello, I light up your world. Psh. Anyway, yeah, so we're gonna change this nondescript Mary Sue character to something else. And you can see that my pizza face syndrome is slightly getting better with her jaw there, but there's still a lot of obvious flaws with her face, including these blush marks here that I drew. I remember a lot of kids at school would always be like, why did you draw scratches on her face? And I'd always not really have a valid answer. But here we are, redrawing the head and trying to give her more of like a square face shape. It doesn't stick though because I needed her to have more of a jaw. So I really liked how in the original pose she's like walking. I don't know where she's walking to. Walking down the street, walking through the forest, we don't know. But it's almost like she's walking and then all of a sudden she looked over and she's like, hi, I'm Mary Sue, you noticed me, senpai, let's be friends. So I kind of wanted to redo that and have her walking, but hopefully not such a dumbstruck face. So we're redrawing the whole body, just the torso I guess, and I'm trying to get her arms in movement, her posture correct, and the way that I would imagine this character walking now. She's going to have really long sleeves. I'm keeping the fashion pretty much the same, which was probably not a good idea, but at the same time, if this was Zelda-inspired art, I felt like this kind of outfit was, I don't know, something that could have happened. I'm going to have her also looking at the camera, but I have her at 3/4, so you can't really, I don't know, it's not as boring, it's more active, but having her eyes look over is going to be a bit more difficult because the eyes aren't just straight in front of you, they have to be turned just at the right angle. Also notice how I draw her mouth. It's not just a triangle, it's curving around the shape of her head, and that really gives it that three-dimensional look that I think a lot of beginners forget when they're drawing the, anime triangle mouth. Alright, now I'm adding in some hair. We're keeping the short triangle shape kind of bangs wrapping around her face. I made them a little longer just for fun, I guess. And then we're going to do her ponytail here, and I'm going to have it moving over so it's almost like the wind or her movement is pushing it back. Her sleeves are being blown back, so she's not just a complete triangle base. And I'm adding some wisps of hair. Now you can see this is a much more balanced and dynamic pose, but it's offset. And the reason that it works is because I'm using the rule of thirds. And you'll see here I use the crop tool to show me where those are, and then I just move the composition to match those lines. So yeah, using the rules of thirds really will help. Really will help your compositions. Alright, and now I'm going into inking. So my computer's a bit shaky, so I apologize if the inks are not as clean as they usually are, but I just had to go with it. I'm giving her a really anime look compared to my usual style. I don't usually draw eyes this intensely spunky and angular, but I wanted to keep with the whole Mary Sue anime kind of look. So we're keeping it simple today and doing black eyes. I thought about adding some bling, but it just gets too complicated when you're trying to make this simple black dot look like it's looking at you. And you're going to see me go over it over and over and over again. But I think I get there. But yeah, making a character look at camera is very difficult and is definitely a skill. So I'm adding her teeth. I added her bottom teeth. That's one thing that I think a lot of beginners forget, is that we have bottom teeth, or how to draw them correctly. And then you can see here I'm breaking down the neck, and a lot of my lines are dictated by where the muscles are. So knowing the anatomy of the body really will help you in your cartooning and making things like the neck look realistic. That was a huge struggle I had when I was 12. I always had these like tree stump necks, and it was like, I cannot move. I am just two lines holding up its head. And that's kind of a shame because you spend so much time on the face, you want the neck to be believable too. Alright, so I'm going back and forth on the eyes, adjusting them a little bit and then adjusting the other one. And I think that's best as opposed to just dedicating to one eye completely, is just adjusting back and forth between the two. but part of my technique of making sure she's looking at the camera is to cover up one eye, so covering up the left eye and then making sure the right eye is looking, and then covering up the right eye and then making sure the left eye is looking at you. And then both of them will eventually end up looking at you. But just take it one at a time. And then here I am filling in the hair and her ear, and we're gonna go and make some strands attaching back to her ponytail. I wanted her to have like a rubber band that's really being strained to hold her hair in. It's been folded several times, lost its stretch a little bit. And now I'm doing the sleeves. Ooh, this magical wind is blowing them away. I kind of wanted them to be more wispy to show movement, and then also she's still kind of a triangle composition, but not so blatantly a triangle composition, if you know what I mean. I'm fixing the folds so that they like overlap a bit more naturally, kind of give it a more realistic look to the folding. You have to be really simple with it though, and be aware of the design, because if you get too much into the folds, it can really be overdone. And that's also aesthetic. I don't know what to call it. It's like the super wrinkle like style where people are like, my knee's bent, so I have 500 folds in this crease. Here I am inking the hair, and you just want to be really like delicate with the lines and flowy, and it can definitely take you several strokes to do it, so don't worry if you have to draw one strand of hair like 700 times. But it's all about blocking out the shape and the movement, and once you get that down, it all just comes pretty naturally. But don't be afraid to test something out and then be like no, and then erase it. So adding in a couple detail strands to give the hair some like thickness and dimension, and you'll see how I clean those up over and over again all the time. Adding those blush marks high up on her cheeks where her actual like cheekbone would be, that makes it seem more kind of like accenting to her face structure than, oh look, my face is super flat because I've got these scratch marks all over it. So really think in a sense of three-dimensional when you're drawing those blush marks on. I'm adding a little bit of stitching to add detail, and the face, or this whole outfit, this Mary Sue is just really plain, and I didn't want to give her too much detail, but at the same time I was just like, how can I make this more interesting? How can this Mary Sue not be too Mary Sue? So I gave her some stitching, and that's pretty much all I do give her. Alright, so here I am drawing, I think I'm going to draw the background. So here, yeah, I felt like this picture really needed a background to give it some more, I don't know, pizzazz. You can see that I moved the composition over to the far right, so that gives it more space on the left. And you'll see this line here, these are like lines of action, and I want them to intersect, because that makes it a much more interesting composition. The eye's gonna move around now instead of just like stare at this girl's face. And yeah, it really can help your backgrounds or just your compositions if you're doing a simple portrait. And I picked a cherry blossom because this is a Mary Sue, and I imagine Mary Sues are kind of like weeaboos, and weeaboos really like Japanese stuff out of context, and so I'm drawing this random Japanese cherry blossom thing out of context without any understanding of what I'm doing. So here is kind of a calligraphy style drawing. I had reference looking up different kinds of branches and things that are done in this way, and then I'm just taking a combination of several things and using it to inspire how I want to draw this tree branch coming down. I think I got a pretty good hang of it. I would have liked to use a more delicate, like pressure sensitive brush. I felt like this one was a little too thick, but it worked out okay. I liked that it had some texture on the edge there, and I noticed that the texture really came out when the brush was being pushed down at full pressure, and that was kind of difficult to do when it was really big, so I needed to probably adjust the brush size to smaller so that I could have gotten more variation, but whatever, it worked out. So now I'm going through and I'm adding the flowers, and you'll see that I changed the opacity down to 66% to give it more of a watercolor look as opposed to flat, I don't know, like acrylic or I guess gouache look. It's definitely more watered down kind of feeling. And I wanted to make sure all my flowers were the same texture and kind of same silhouette. And I looked at, again, at reference on how to break down these flowers. The sakura flower is really cool, but their petals are very distinct, and so you want to make sure you got the 4 petals that are kind of bigger at the outside and then taper in towards the center. Yes, very, very, very flowerful. Definitely makes this picture seem like there's more to it than just drawing nothing. Alright, so now I'm adding some loose petals, so it's like the wind is blowing. This is very common, I think, in animes, is that moment where the flower petals are like blowing away, and it's very beautiful. I bet it's even more beautiful in real life than it is in anime, but it's definitely romanticized in moments of showing characters, I guess. Alright, so I'm titling my layers, and I'm going to go in now and flat the person. Now, Mary Sue here is going to be, you know, the generic kind of Mary Sue appearance, but I don't want to spend too much time on that appearance, so you'll see me use the select tool, which is the lasso, and I'm just blatantly selecting and filling in and then cleaning it up. When I do her more detailed parts like her headband and I think her hair, I go in with a brush just so that I can keep it detailed, but it really saved me time to use the lasso tool. Some people are really good at it and can do really detailed like selections, and if that's the case, that saves you so much more time, but when you're pulled out like this far, it can be kind of difficult and almost just as time consuming, so just pick your poison, I guess. It has to get done. You have to color all the details somehow. So I put her hair and everything on this orange color. It was making me think of Ichigo from Bleach. Just like, orange hair means that you're cool. Are there any other orange-haired characters? Orihime, is that her name? Orihime? That one girl, she's got orange hair. There are other people other than Bleach that have orange hair. I just don't remember their names right now. But yeah, it's a very stereotypical like main character hair color, I think. And then I'm adding this like red stitching to her outfit. I was kind of thinking like, you know, what kind of Japanese-based clothing could I base this off of or be inspired by? And I was looking at the Shinto maiden, and I don't know what they're really called in Japanese or what like they are, but they hang out around the Shinto shrines and help them and take care of them, I guess. And they wear the white top and the red, is it hakama? So anyway, yeah, you can't see what she's wearing below her waist, but I would imagine it would be a red hakama if it was shown. So here I am grabbing a texture. I'm just going to make more interesting pieces to this drawing that's very flat and plain. And doing textures really helps. You just put it on top of all the layers and then you select overlay, and it will make it appear on anything that's of a gray tone. If it's black, like straight up black, you won't see the texture. So changing this like cherry blossom black to more of like a lighter color helps show the texture, but then at the same time it shows a little too much, so you'll see me adjust that several times. Also, the texture layers, you want to change the opacity, lower it a little bit, because it can get really intense, but it overall helps. I think it helps unify the colors, and it just gives it a more I guess real, traditional drawing. Yeah, it gives it a more traditional feel. Alright, so I'm looking at this outfit, I'm kind of liking it, but I feel like the white is really, really stark. And I don't know if you can see it very well on the screen, but it's just really bright. So I changed the background, and now I'm changing like the outfit to a darker white. I mixed like a red and a gray together, and it kind of looks like she washed her white shirt with her red clothes, and now it's like forever gonna be that color. And it seems to have really helped with the overall look of the piece. It's not as stark, bright neon white as it was before. Alright, so here we are with the original drawing squeaking by. You can see a lot has changed in 12 years. And then here we are with the new and improved. And you can see there's just a lot more shape and form, eye movement in the picture. And I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys learned something. I'll see you guys next week. Alright, bye!